The scream echoed across the cul-de-sac like a banshee getting a bikini wax. Seconds later, a flamingo-shaped garden gnome came crashing through my front window, followed by a cloud of glitter and what sounded like very creative profanity. HOA President Marla Yates had just opened the package labeled Silk Throw Blanket, Fragile, and instead found Aragog, my new 8-legged revenge agent from the Amazon rainforest. Alive, kicking, and very, very hairy. I'm Eli Cranston, software engineer, introvert, and proud owner of a modest 3-bedroom ranch in Wisteria Parklands, a neighborhood that bills itself as luxury living for discerning citizens. Translation: a pastel nightmare where beige is the only acceptable color and the HOA holds more power than local law enforcement. All I wanted was peace. Maybe a few hobby electronics shipped discreetly to my porch. But Marla Yates had other plans. Picture Cruella de Vil with a Fitbit and a clipboard permanently attached to her manicured hands. She considered unsupervised cardboard boxes a blight, and took it upon herself to enforce what she called porch purity protocol. Her solution: stealing every package she deemed unsightly, unapproved, or delivered after 4 p.m. The woman ran our neighborhood like a dictator runs a small country, complete with surveillance rounds every 2 hours and a notebook where she recorded violations in color-coded ink. Red meant immediate action required. My packages were always marked in red. It started small. A missing phone charger that I thought maybe got misdelivered. A suspiciously crumpled Amazon envelope that arrived empty when it should have contained a new mouse pad. Then my new mechanical keyboard vanished, a $200 gaming keyboard that I'd been waiting 3 weeks for, and that was when I knew this meant war. Security cameras? She had them tampered with during routine HOA maintenance. My Ring doorbell? Conveniently disabled by what she called necessary electrical work for the community's safety. I confronted her once at her pristine white colonial at the end of Magnolia Court. She smiled sweetly, the kind of smile that makes your skin crawl, and said in her sugary voice, "Oh dear, maybe your packages are being rerouted for safety. We can't have unsightly boxes cluttering our beautiful neighborhood, can we?" She then winked, actually winked at me, and handed me a freshly laminated printout of HOA Package Policy 3A, which literally stated, "Deliveries are a privilege, not a right. The board reserves the right to intercept any packages deemed detrimental to community aesthetics." Word spread through the neighborhood like wildfire at our monthly potluck dinners. Neighbors whispered about missing socks from Bombas, bonsai trees that never arrived, even a limited edition crockpot that Sarah from 2 houses down had ordered for her daughter's wedding gift. Tom Rodriguez said his prescription glasses disappeared and showed up 3 days later on Marla's face at the board meeting. She claimed they were similar but definitely hers. Through careful observation and some strategic friendships with delivery drivers, I learned that Marla kept her stash in her garage behind a keypad-locked Craftsman cabinet labeled Community Assets. Jerry, the UPS driver, told me he'd seen her dragging packages into that garage at least twice a week. "She always says she's holding them for neighbors who aren't home," he said with a shake of his head, "but I deliver to those same neighbors later and they ask where their stuff is." One night, over boxed wine and righteous fury, I hatched my plan. If she wanted to steal packages, I'd give her something she definitely wouldn't want to keep. I spent hours researching, scrolling through exotic pet sites and specialty retailers. That's when I found Charlotte, a Chilean rose tarantula described as docile but impressively large, perfect for experienced handlers. The site promised discreet shipping in a ventilated container with appropriate permits and documentation. The beauty of the plan was in the packaging. I had the seller label it Organic Spa Towels. Please handle gently, in a loopy cursive font that I knew Marla would find irresistible. The box would arrive on a Tuesday, her favorite theft day according to my surveillance notes, right around 3:30 p.m. when she did her community wellness walk, which was really just her casing the neighborhood for packages. I even added a fake invoice visible through the clear envelope on top, listing Egyptian cotton luxury set, value $350, because I knew she couldn't resist high-end items. The spider cost me $85 plus overnight shipping, but revenge would be priceless. I positioned my hidden trail cam inside a decorative birdhouse with a perfect view of my porch, then waited. Sure enough, security footage showed her snatching the box within 4 minutes of delivery. She actually looked both ways like a cartoon villain before grabbing it, grinning like a raccoon in a dumpster full of birthday cake. She practically skipped back to her house with my package tucked under her arm. I watched the footage 3 times, each viewing sweeter than the last, knowing what was waiting inside that innocent-looking box. At precisely 2:17 p.m. the next day, all hell broke loose. Marla sprinted out of her house barefoot, wearing only a silk bathrobe and what appeared to be a shower cap, wrapped in a garbage bag like some kind of demented butterfly emerging from its cocoon. She was clutching her arm and shrieking something about the devil's hairbrush crawling in my robe. Her screams hit octaves I didn't know human voices could reach. She collapsed dramatically onto her perfectly manicured lawn, right into her prized rose bushes, rolling around and swatting at invisible enemies. HOA Vice President Barry Henley came running from next door and attempted CPR for reasons that still remain a mystery since she was clearly conscious and screaming. "Get it off me. It's in my hair. Barry, it's in my hair," she wailed while Barry pumped her chest and counted to 30. Animal control showed up first, followed by 2 police cars, an ambulance, 3 news vans, and a TikTok influencer named Snack Mom Steph who happened to be driving by and smelled content gold. The whole scene was pure chaos, with Marla now wrapped in an emergency blanket, pointing at her house and gasping, "Arachnid terrorism. This is assault. Someone tried to kill me." Turns out, Marla had opened the box in her walk-in closet while trying on the spa towels she thought she was stealing. Charlotte, probably stressed from the journey, had crawled onto a cashmere sweater. When Marla reached for it, they met face to face. She screamed, fell backward into her rotating shoe rack, knocked over 6 boxes of stolen packages, and called 911 claiming she was under attack by what she described to dispatch as a tarantula the size of a dinner plate sent by terrorists. The HOA board held an emergency meeting that night in the community center. The same community center where Marla had held court for 3 years, ruling with an iron fist wrapped in passive-aggressive smiles. But this time, things were different. The police had questions about the 6 boxes of stolen packages mentioned in her 911 call. Turns out, stealing mail and packages violates roughly 18 federal and state laws. Barry Henley, still shaken from his unnecessary CPR adventure, made a motion to audit the community assets in Marla's garage. When they opened that cabinet, they found over $10,000 worth of stolen items, all meticulously cataloged in her handwriting with dates and addresses. My mechanical keyboard was there, still in its box, under a stack of expired HOA newsletters and a half-eaten wedge of brie that had seen better days. The postal inspector who arrived the next morning was not amused. Neither was the FBI agent who followed up, since mail theft across state lines is a federal crime. Marla tried to explain it was all a misunderstanding, that she was protecting the neighborhood from unsightly packages, but the 43 residents who filed complaints disagreed. Even her ally, Susan Chen from the Architectural Committee, stepped forward with a story about missing anniversary earrings. The vote to remove her from the HOA board was unanimous, 37-0 with 3 abstentions. When they announced the results, Marla stood up so fast her chair fell backward. Her face went from red to purple to a shade of white I've only seen on fresh printer paper. "You can't do this," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "I made this neighborhood what it is. Without me, property values will plummet. Your lawns will die." The district attorney's office got involved when they discovered Marla had been reselling some stolen items on marketplace apps under fake names. She'd made over $12,000 selling our stuff, which added wire fraud and tax evasion to her growing list of charges. The evidence was overwhelming, including screenshots of her listing showing my keyboard described as barely used, purchased for ungrateful nephew. But the real blow came when the postal inspector informed her she was facing federal charges with potential fines up to $250,000 per incident and up to 5 years in federal prison. With 43 documented thefts, they calculated her total fines could reach $10.7 million. Her lawyer, a nervous man in a wrinkled suit who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, whispered something in her ear about plea bargains and cooperation agreements. Her jaw dropped so far I thought it might unhinge like a snake. She grabbed the conference table for support, her perfectly manicured nails scratching the wood surface, leaving deep grooves in the polish. Her voice came out as a strangled whisper. 10 million? 5 years. But I was protecting. The packages were ugly. Then louder, building to a crescendo. This is about that spider, isn't it? You planned this, Eli Cranston. You and your ugly packages and your terrorist spider. The judge at her arraignment set bail at $500,000. When the bailiff read the charges, all 27 counts of them, Marla fainted right there in the courtroom, falling sideways off the defendant's chair with a theatrical thud that nobody believed was real until the paramedics confirmed she'd actually passed out.